Data doesn't lie, and what it shows is terrifying. Beneath Naples, Italy, the ground has been quietly rising for 20 years. But in the past week, something changed. Small earthquakes began clustering beneath Campi Flegrei, each one a whisper from a sleeping giant. Scientists just discovered why, and what they found could rewrite everything we know about volcanic risk in one of Europe's most populated regions. November 2nd, 2025. 3:51 p.m. local time. A magnitude 2.1 earthquake strikes 2.8 kilometers beneath the ancient town of Pozzuoli, Italy. To most residents, it feels like a heavy truck passing by. But to the scientists monitoring every tremor through Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, this earthquake carries a different message. 35 minutes later, another one. Same depth, same location. Magnitude 2.0, then again at 4:26 p.m. By the end of the weekend, 5 earthquakes had struck the exact same spot, a precision that doesn't happen by accident in nature. Each tremor was recorded by a network of seismometers so sensitive they can detect vibrations smaller than the width of a human hair. Each data point was automatically uploaded to servers in Rome, where computers began analyzing patterns that would take human scientists weeks to recognize. But these weren't random volcanic hiccups. Dr. Nicola D'Agostino and his team had been working for months on something unprecedented, using artificial intelligence to analyze every earthquake recorded beneath Campi Flegrei since detailed monitoring began. Over 54,000 individual events, 20 years of data, thousands of hours of seismic waves converted into digital signatures that AI could read like a geological language. What the AI found changed everything. Hidden beneath the ancient caldera, invisible to traditional analysis, lay a ring fault system, a circular fracture zone 8 miles across, following the exact outline of the caldera rim formed 39,000 years ago. Every earthquake, from the smallest tremor to the largest magnitude 4.0 events, followed this hidden pattern. Dr. D'Agostino puts it simply, we're watching the caldera prepare itself. The question is, for what? The data shows something else that makes scientists pause. Since 2005, the ground has risen 144 centimeters, nearly 5 feet of slow, relentless uplift. In Pozzuoli, the rate has accelerated to 10 centimeters per year. Streets crack, buildings shift. The ancient Roman marketplace, built below sea level 2,000 years ago, now sits 3 meters above the harbor. But that's only part of the story. What lies beneath Campi Flegrei, defies every stereotype of what a volcano should look like. There's no towering cone, no obvious crater. Instead, 8 miles of seemingly peaceful countryside hide one of the most powerful volcanic systems on Earth, a supervolcano capable of eruptions that could affect global climate. The caldera formed during 2 massive eruptions. The first, 39,000 years ago, ejected enough material to bury all of modern Italy under several feet of ash. The second, 15,000 years ago, was smaller but still catastrophic. What remained was a collapsed landscape filled with lakes, towns, and 500,000 people who have no idea they're living inside an active volcanic system. The AI analysis revealed the mechanical precision of how this system works. Deep underground, at temperatures exceeding 200 degrees Celsius, pressurized hydrothermal fluids search for escape routes. They find the weakest points, the ancient ring fault that formed when the caldera collapsed, and begin to exploit every microscopic crack and fissure. The mechanism is deceptively simple but terrifyingly effective. As heated fluids rise, they cool and expand, creating hydraulic pressure that pushes against the rock above. The ring fault, weakened by millennia of heating and cooling cycles, begins to fail. Not catastrophically, but incrementally. Each small earthquake represents another fracture, another failure in the geological container that keeps this system stable. Satellite data from the European Space Agency confirms what seismometers detect on the ground. Using radar interferometry, satellites can measure ground movement to within millimeters. The images reveal a bullseye pattern of uplift centered on Pozzuoli, spreading outward in concentric circles that match the ring fault exactly. The town of Pozzuoli sits directly above the most active zone. Every year, the ground rises 10 centimeters, fast enough that harbor walls built at sea level in 2010 now tower above the water. Roads develop new cracks each month. The 16th century cathedral shows fresh stress fractures in its ancient stones. But the most unsettling discovery came from comparing current patterns to historical records. The ring fault system revealed by AI matches exactly the fracture patterns that preceded the caldera's last eruption in 1538. First, decades of gradual ground uplift. Then, accelerating earthquakes following the ring fault. Finally, a new volcano born in a week of explosive activity. Monte Nuovo, a new mountain, still rises 123 meters above the landscape, a permanent reminder of what this system can produce when pressure finds release. Yet what comes next could be even worse. The summer of 1982 began like any other in Pozzuoli. Fishermen prepared their nets, tourists visited the ancient Roman ruins. Children played in streets that had remained unchanged for generations. No one suspected they were living through the opening act of a geological drama that would reshape their lives forever. By autumn, something was wrong. Harbor walls that had stood steady for decades began to crack. The ancient Serapeum, a Roman marketplace built precisely at sea level as a natural tide gauge, rose mysteriously above the water. Fishermen found their boats stranded on dry dock that had been underwater just months before. Then came the earthquakes. Not the gentle tremors locals had always known, but sharp, violent jolts that rattled windows and sent dishes crashing to floors. Magnitude 2.0 became magnitude 3.0. Daily quakes became hourly quakes. The strongest reached magnitude 4.0, powerful enough to crack foundations and send terrified families running into the streets. Maria Rossi was 16 that year. Every morning we would check if our house was still level, she remembers. My father marked the cracks in our kitchen wall with pencil. By winter, the marks were everywhere. The Rossi family lived 3 blocks from the harbor. They watched their neighborhood transform as the ground rose 2 meters in 18 months, a pace so fast that engineers couldn't understand how it was possible. The crisis peaked in 1984. By then, earthquakes struck every few hours. The ancient amphitheater, built by Romans to last millennia, developed new cracks every week. Local newspapers published evacuation routes on their front pages. Schools practiced earthquake drills daily. Children went to sleep wondering if their houses would still be standing when they woke. The evacuation order came in October. 40,000 people, nearly the entire population of Pozzuoli, were told to leave their homes within 48 hours. Families packed centuries of belongings into cars and trucks. Elderly residents wept as they locked doors to houses their grandparents had built. Empty neighborhoods became ghost towns. Streets that had echoed with children's laughter stood silent, except for the rumble of aftershocks. The only sounds were the creaking of abandoned buildings and the occasional crash of falling plaster. Then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The earthquakes faded. The ground settled. Slowly, cautiously, families returned to damaged homes and tried to forget. But the volcano never forgot. The ring fault system revealed by modern AI analysis shows that every earthquake from the 1980s crisis followed the exact same fracture pattern, now reactivating beneath the caldera. The same pressures that drove 40,000 people from their homes are building again. Slower this time, more subtle, but unmistakably familiar. And now, scientists fear history may be repeating itself. The numbers paint a picture that becomes more concerning with each passing month. In 2025 alone, Campi Flegrei has produced 7,057 earthquakes, more than the previous 5 years combined. 5 of them exceeded magnitude 4.0, strong enough to be felt across Naples. 28 reached magnitude 3.0 or higher, each one precisely located by GPS-timed seismometers, each one adding to a pattern that grows clearer every day. Dr. Giuseppe De Natale has spent 3 decades studying this caldera. His office walls are covered with seismograms, satellite images, and pressure readings that tell the story of a geological system in transition. In the 1980s, we had instruments, he explains. Now we have intelligence. We can see things that were invisible before. The Italian government maintains a yellow alert level, the same designation used since 2012. Officials emphasize that no evacuation is planned, no emergency declared. Press conferences feature calm reassurances about routine monitoring and normal volcanic unrest. But behind the scenes, the response tells a different story. New seismic stations have been installed across the caldera, creating the densest monitoring network in Europe. Each station can detect ground movements smaller than a millimeter and transmit data in real time to analysis centers in Rome, Naples, and Paris. Satellite arrays map every centimeter of ground deformation hourly, creating three-dimensional models of how the caldera breathes. The ring fault discovery has fundamentally changed the risk calculation. Instead of viewing the earthquakes as random volcanic unrest, the standard interpretation for decades, scientists now recognize a systematic reactivation of the caldera's most dangerous structural feature. Computer models based on the new fault mapping suggest scenarios that keep volcanologists awake at night. If the ring fault fully activates, it could trigger earthquakes up to magnitude 5.0, strong enough to damage buildings across Naples, 30 kilometers away. More concerning, the fault could create pathways for rapid gas release or magma movement that current monitoring might not detect until too late. The human dimension adds urgency to every calculation. 500,000 people live within the potential impact zone, 10 times more than during the 1980s crisis. Naples has grown into a sprawling metropolitan area where evacuation would require weeks, not days. Ancient buildings mix with modern apartments, creating a patchwork of structural vulnerability that engineers struggle to assess. Unlike the controlled evacuations of the 1980s, modern Naples cannot empty quickly or easily. Traffic systems designed for daily commuting would collapse under the weight of mass exodus. Hospital patients, elderly residents, and families with small children would need specialized transport that doesn't exist in sufficient numbers. Because what happens next could rewrite maps and displace lives on a scale Italy has never faced. The monitoring stations record everything, but nature keeps its deepest secrets. Data streams flow continuously from dozens of instruments, seismometers detecting vibrations, GPS stations measuring millimeter movements, gas sensors sampling volcanic emissions, thermal cameras tracking underground heat. Yet for all this technological sophistication, the most crucial question remains unanswered. When? Dr. Giuseppe Di Natale, whose career has paralleled the caldera's modern awakening, admits the fundamental uncertainty. We understand. The mechanism is understood better than ever before. We can see the ring fault activating in real time. We know pressure is building, but nature doesn't follow human schedules or scientific predictions. The AI analysis that revealed the ring fault system represents both a breakthrough and a burden. It explains why earthquakes follow such precise patterns, giving scientists their clearest picture yet of the geological machinery operating beneath Naples. But it also reveals that this system is far more complex and potentially dangerous than anyone understood. Recent seismic swarms show the fault activating in sections, like a massive zipper slowly opening. Earthquakes cluster in specific segments of the 8-mile ring, then migrate to adjacent areas as pressure redistributes through the system. The pattern suggests a methodical breakdown of geological barriers that have contained the caldera's energy for centuries. Whether this process stops or accelerates depends on factors no computer model can fully predict. The precise pressure of fluids trapped 3 kilometers underground, the strength of rock altered by decades of heating and cooling cycles, the delicate balance between solid earth and the hydraulic forces trying to break it apart. Small changes in any of these variables could shift the entire system towards stability or catastrophe. International attention has focused new resources on the problem. The European Space Agency dedicates satellite time to monitoring ground deformation. The United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction has designated Campi Flegrei as a priority study site. Universities across Europe contribute students and equipment to research programs that combine traditional geology with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and quantum sensors. But residents of Pozzuoli and Naples live with questions that science cannot yet answer. Should they trust official reassurances that yellow alert means routine monitoring? Should they prepare evacuation plans that authorities haven't requested? Should they sell homes that have been in families for generations? Or stay and hope that history doesn't repeat? The ground beneath Naples continues to rise. 10 centimeters this year, perhaps 10 centimeters next year, or perhaps something else entirely. The ring fault waits, partially open, ready to reveal whether decades of pressure will find gradual release or explosive resolution.